Good evening. It is a pleasure to welcome you to our annual People and Technology Forum hosted by Georgia Tech. I'm thrilled to see so many people here, ignoring the weather reports of dire forecasts, and especially pleased to welcome you to what's going to be a tremendous two-day event. Today's a very special day for us here at Georgia Tech, but of course it's also a very special day for our nation. So I'm thrilled that we have a number of veterans in the audience as well as part of our program over the next 2 days. So appreciate you taking time out of that important national recognition to come be with us. We're going to have a tremendous program for you. Of course, in a few minutes you'll be hearing from Ralph de la Vega, President and CEO of AT&T Mobility, to provide I'm sure what is going to be an insightful and challenging set of conversations and discussions for us as we understand the future of people and technology and enterprises working together across areas such as media, health, humanitarian, and education, and a number of the systems and technologies that make up our daily lives and are of vast societal importance to our communities. But for tonight, I have a simpler set of instructions that I need to fulfill. The first is that I need to thank our sponsors. So thank you to AT&T, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, Steelcase, and to Georgia Tech's Office of Information Technology. These sponsors took us up on our invitation to engage with us in this program for us to be able to tell our story of what we are trying to accomplish here at Georgia Tech and to be able to tell more broadly the story of our research community. I don't need to tell anyone that we are working in economically challenged times in the university, in the academy, and in the state as a whole. And this sponsorship is extremely important for us to be able to produce this event and not tap into the critical resources that we use to fuel our group. The second thing that I get to do is to introduce to you our president of Georgia Tech, Bud Peterson. Many of you remember future versions of this event, the Future Media Fest, and I still recall the conversations that Bud brought to that very first time when we were meeting over at the Renaissance, used to be the Palomar Hotel, and his discussions with us about his expectations for what this community could achieve, what it could achieve in terms of the future of education, the future of the university, but more broadly what this community could achieve in terms of the future of Georgia and our nation and for our globe. So I'm thrilled to be able to welcome him back now to the People and Technology Forum, and he'll be able to provide some commentary and then introduce our opening speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Beth. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to welcome all of you on behalf of Georgia Tech to the Forum on People and Technology. This is going to be a great couple of days for you, I hope. Sounds really loud. A great couple of days for you. I hope we have over 100 different companies that are represented, from international, well-established businesses to a number of startups that are here locally. And so hope you have a chance to interact with people, meet some people that you haven't met, and really look at how the interaction between people and technology is happening, can happen, and will happen in the future. The Institute for People and Technology, IPaT, is one of 12 interdisciplinary centers that we have here at Georgia Tech. It's a center that focuses on education, information, and basically any place where people and technology interface and interact. You'll hear about a number of projects. One, Direct to Discovery. It's a terrific program we have that uses high-band internet to educate students. The governor, we hosted the governor up at the Barrow County Schools about 3 or 4 months ago, and we went up and we saw middle school children working on projects that are really open up their world and expose them to things that they wouldn't otherwise see. We saw a project where young people, these are 8th graders, are able to visit with a scuba diver that's actually underwater in the Georgia Aquarium and look at coral, and this is a piece of coral, and this is what kind of fish is that. Real-time interaction, and the scuba diver can hear them and interact with them real time. Students that interacted with a group of students in Ireland that were comparing the similarities between living next to or near a bog in Ireland or a swamp in Georgia. And then probably the most meaningful thing that I saw that day was students in Barrow County schools that are controlling a telescope in Australia. One of the young men said, well, where's the Big Dipper? Which was a great learning moment because he learned that you can't see the Big Dipper if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you see the Southern Cross. So those types of opportunities with that direct discovery program are just spectacular. You'll hear a little bit about the partnership we have with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. We have a $20 million joint project with Children's to try to improve pediatric healthcare and some of the innovations and creative ideas that are coming out of that partnership, a device that will allow us or allow parents to use an iPhone to detect ear infections. And I had 4 children, they're all grown now, but we had ear infections all the time. And it seemed like we were always going to the emergency room or to the doctor to work on ear infections. Some things that can allow people to interact with children that have autism or detect autism very early on, which is very important in terms of trying to remediate and some early therapies that you can have for that. And then finally, you'll hear about the Center for 21st Century Universities. This is an activity that's going on. You read a lot about MOOCs and all the exciting things that are happening. Our provost, Raphael Bras, when he talks about technology-enhanced learning, says the good news, he says the train has left the station. The good news is we're on the train. The bad news is we're not sure where it's going. But we offered 5 of these massively open online courses this past fall. We had 20,000 students that signed up the first day, and today there's 140,000 students that are involved and enrolled in those 5 courses. We'll offer additional courses throughout next semester, and exciting time to be in higher education. A little scary there with the way we use technology, and people often ask, how come this didn't happen before? I think it's a combination of things, but certainly I believe it has a lot more to do with the interaction of people and technology than it did before. The audience that we're talking to is now used to this type of technology and very, very comfortable interacting with the technology, where 10 or 15 years ago, when we first had courses on the internet, they weren't near as used to the use of that technology. We're hoping that this Institute for People and Technology can help expand what we're doing, expand it beyond the traditional campus boundaries. And to that end, we're very fortunate today to have Mr. Ralph de la Vega here as the keynote speaker. Ralph is the president and CEO of AT&T Mobility and has held that position since 2007. He's responsible for the company's largest growth engine, and AT&T is the industry's mobile broadband leader and #1 smartphone provider. In addition to the company's wireless business, he leads the company's local consumer wireline operations, including U-verse TV, which has received numerous industry awards. And during his long and distinguished telecommunications career, Mr. de la Vega has held numerous senior executive positions, including Group Vice President, Regional Telecommunications and Entertainment for AT&T, Chief Operating Officer of Singular Wireless, President of Bell South Latin America, and President of Bell South Broadband and Internet Services. He serves on a number of boards of directors, New York Life. I met Ralph for the first time through the Metro Atlanta Chamber, and we've had a number of exchanges and very productive meetings through the Metro Atlanta Chamber. His involvement in the community is also extensive and merits notice. He serves as chairman of Junior Achievement Worldwide and chairman of All Markets Initiatives for the Boy Scouts of America. Holds a Bachelor of Science degree in mechanical engineering from Florida Atlantic University and a master's degree in business from Northern Illinois. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Ralph de la Vega.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to make this session as interactive as you want to make it. Given that this is kind of a nice auditorium here, you can feel free to ask questions at any time as I go through the presentation. So we can make it as interactive as you would like. You know, when Bud and Beth called me and asked me to do this keynote, I did something I never do, which is to agree on the spot to do it, and then tell my assistant that she's got to figure out how to make it work in my schedule. And the reason for that is, you know, we had enough exposure to the work that's going on at Georgia Tech. I had met Bud and had toured the facilities here, and I tell you, I've never met a university that is closer aligned to businesses in the space of people and technology like Georgia Tech. It is an absolute jewel right here in Atlanta, and what they're doing is exactly in the same areas that we have a great deal of interest in. So you're going to see me talk about things that AT&T is doing, but in many ways they're the same things that Georgia Tech is already working on. So I was thrilled to be able to talk to you this afternoon about the things that we're doing. And by the way, I think these things will dramatically change the way you live and work, whether you like them or not. I've been talking for the last year or so about 3 trends that are going to dramatically change our lives. Today I'm only going to talk about one. You can ask me about the other 2 in the Q&A session. But this trend with technology is absolutely fascinating, what's happening. And I love the institute that we have here for people on technology, because that's my job. That's what I do. I have to figure out how to get technology into people's hands that makes their lives better, or that makes their businesses run better. That's what it's all about. And so what I wanted to do today is to tell you what we're doing at AT&T in the area of research. Research to understand what people want, how their wants are changing over time. Talk about what we're doing about innovation, because a lot of the things you're going to hear me talk about are things that we're attempting to do for the first time. Really exciting areas, but how does a big company get their people engaged and to take innovative and entrepreneurial approaches to technology and people. And then I'm going to tell you about some of the things that we're doing that are not just in a PowerPoint presentation, but that are products that are being developed right here in Atlanta and that I think are going to dramatically change the way you live and the way you work, and you'll be the judge of that when I get through. Does that sound like a good agenda? I can change it if you want. Sounds good? I'm pretty flexible today. No charts, nothing, but just going to try to talk a little bit about it. So let me talk a little bit about research, because I think I want to talk about all these 3, but one of the most fascinating areas is research. And we have been doing consumer research for ages. And one of the things that we were very concerned about when it came to technology is about 2 to 3 years ago, people were giving us the stiff arm on technology, saying that technology was too complex and they really didn't want to deal with it. That was in the early days of the smartphones and the internet and applications, and so things were not quite easy enough for the customers. Cycle to today, and we've done a research that has dramatically changed that for the better. We went from technology taking over people's lives to them telling us that it makes my life richer. This is unbelievable that people in this short period of time that I'm talking about change from the left to the right. And I think it's a credit to the ecosystem that is mobility, because we're making the networks better, but you have people developing the devices and they're better, and the application developers. Oh my God, they're developing applications that are so easy to use that there is an application for everyone. And the best example I can give you is I was recently at a dentist's office waiting to get my teeth cleaned, and in the dentist office there's a young mother with 2 twins, look like twins, and she's keeping them quiet and entertained with an iPad. And so, here's a mother and 2 young children. I turn around and there's a lady that must be in her late 70s. She's playing solitaire in an iPad. I'm handling my email. I go, this is a great country. Look at this. Everybody, even in the doctor's office, is using our products and services. I don't think I had seen that transgenerational approach before, where from young kids to grandmothers are using the same technology in the same period of time. And that's what our research is showing, that they're saying what I'm getting now makes my life richer. I'm in contact with my grandchildren, whether it's using an iPad and FaceTime, it could be Skype, it could be any number of things, but the consumers are absolutely changing the way they view our world, and it is wonderful, because I think it's going to actually get even better than this. So that's one of the first highlights that I wanted to tell you. In fact, people now are so dependent on their smartphone or their phone that they have a fear of losing it. And actually, in the UK, they came up with a phobia, and they call it the no mobile phobia, or nomophobia, which means the fear of losing your phone. And they did a survey 2 years ago. 55% of the people say they suffer from it. This year is 66%. And I don't know why, but young women at like 77. That's what the market shows, and it's true. I think most of the research done says if you lose your smartphone today, within 15 minutes, you'll know you've lost it. And you'll be looking for it. If you lose a credit card today, it may be days or sometimes weeks before you know it. It's dramatically changing what we do. So what do we do with this? Well, what they're also telling us that they really like is something that we call digital kinship, which is just sharing moments that keep people together. And when we have people in focus groups, you'll be sitting there looking at a focus group, and the lady's telling us that she is together with her husband. Same thing with her husband and his wife. And they're saying they're together, but they're not together physically. They're together digitally because they're connected. And even though they may be apart, they're still somewhat tied together. I was with a friend this past weekend, and he was saying when he's away, he and his wife use Words with Friends. They play Words with Friends. It's, like if you're together. And so we're seeing this as absolutely remarkable. What I'm going to show you is how we're using some of this research to actually turn out products and services that helped us even get better. That's one. Another one is what we call here digital guardianship. And that is a feeling of being secure or knowing that your loved one or your home is secure even though you are not home, even though you are away from home. They want to know that they can be in touch no matter where they are. And I'll show you some products that we're developing that meets this criteria. So the research in the last 2 years has dramatically changed, and telling us consumers love these kind of products. So now let me shift to innovation. So given that this is going on, well, how does AT&T actually get innovative products to market? And I think that one of the things that I'm really thrilled to tell you about is something that we call TIP, or the Innovation Pipeline. It is a crowdsourcing initiative where when one of our employees wants to get something done, I need an application that leverages what we learned about digital guardianship. Who can help me dream up of ideas? It is crowdsourced to our entire employee base. And then a group of employees, 143,000 strong, give you feedback on your idea. Is it a good idea? If so, it gets voted up and it goes through a series of councils to get to the top. So we don't even have to touch it until it becomes a great idea. When it becomes a great idea, like one of those 22,000, then we actually fund it. And you know how we fund it? We use a venture capital model where a group of our executives, including David Christopher, who's my chief marketing officer and is sitting back here, he gets a big bundle of money. He doesn't check with me. He actually decides what ideas to fund through this venture capital model. And the people come in and pitch their ideas just like you would pitch to a venture capital. You pitch it quick, and we decide on the spot if we fund your idea or not, after it gets reviewed by those 143,000 or so employees, or however many want them to get engaged. This is dramatically changing our employees' attitudes and just the way we get products to market. And I'll give you some examples of what's going on in this area. With this one, it's called AT&T Toggle. And this idea came to us from one of our employees who actually had two phones, one for personal and one for business. And he said, there's got to be a better way than having two phones, although I like 2 phones per person, don't get me wrong. I think there's a better way to handle that with Toggle. And now we've launched a product called Toggle that lets you toggle between a personal profile and a business profile. So if you're a CIO for a company, we can give you a phone with Toggle in it, and if that phone gets lost, that CIO can go in and remotely wipe all the corporate data from that phone. Leaves the personal stuff there, but they can be assured that the company's proprietary information will not be misused or fall in the wrong hands. They can manage the device, and at the same time, the employee can have whatever music, whatever family pictures they want on the phone, 2 different personalities. Think about this. One of our employees came up with this idea. It went through the process, and they got $450,000 to implement it. How often is it that an employee in any company comes up with an idea, and within months they have $450,000, no questions asked, just we like the idea, help us to develop it. That is a product that actually we're selling across the nation to especially business customers. That is a great example of what the innovation is bringing to life. And by the way, where are we doing this? We developed a concept called the AT&T Foundry. which is kind of what we call where ideas are made. We have facilities in Palo Alto, in Plano, Texas, and in Israel. And we came back from Israel early this year, and I tell you, I was super impressed. Why do we have facilities on the West Coast and in Israel? Because we've decided at AT&T that we can no longer sit and wait for great ideas to come to us. We have to go to where the great ideas are. And if you ever spend any time in Israel looking at technology and people, it's happening. And if you're not there, you are missing huge opportunities. When we were there, we met with several small firms that are looking to get funded, just like an employee's ideas trying to get funded. And I was really blown away by how thorough the presentations were, the technology, and we're working with those people in Israel to bring some of that technology to life. We have one in Palo Alto, because Silicon Valley, you've got to be in Silicon Valley, and then one in Plano, Texas, and we're looking for other locations as well. In those facilities, we've actually scouted, we've actually met and hosted over 2,000 companies that have a chance to do what we call, kind of have a speed date. You know, you come in, you bring your ideas, we can see if we can make them work. And if they work, you know, we'll work with you to bring those ideas to the market. You can see the statistics there, the number of projects that we've launched. But what I really like is the cycle time of getting an idea to market is 3 times faster when we use this process. Just think about it. You're an entrepreneur. You want to bring an idea to AT&T. We have a place where we actually host you, and that's all these people do. And you're going to see a video of it shortly. It's just designed to help entrepreneurs bring new innovation and have AT&T lead the innovative process. In fact, let me show you a video so you can get an idea, because you have to almost see this to appreciate it. So I think if I click this, the video will come on. There you go.
At AT&T's scale, reliability is super important, but so is looking towards the future and seeing what's coming next. And the AT&T Foundry is really focused on that next portion.
The best of the best, when they hear about the Foundry inside of AT&T, they come to us. They're like, there's an innovative group.
Here in the Valley, there's just so much innovation. I mean, there's so much going on. The pace is fast. So how do we start functioning at this new speed and this new rate of evolution?
Collaboration is key. You know, radical collaboration can happen at a water cooler, at a kitchen table. It can someone walking up to your desk.
What's cool is like when we were building this actually, I get to work with people like Danica, who has a great design background. She thinks about things totally differently than I think about things. Yeah, I'm talking about you.
You can't design a great product without knowing the technology behind it, and you can't design a great technology without knowing why people want it. So the two of us as a team, technology and design, means great products.
Projects that come out of the AT&T Foundry are better, more relevant, and bring greater value.
Mobile healthcare was a project that came to Ari and I from ABS saying we need to do a project in healthcare. This is a new space for AT&T. We think the Foundry is a good place to do that. So we kind of came back and said, AT&T could enable developers, great developers, with better access to data, more unique applications, to come on and quickly build a healthcare application and get that on the market using the AT&T platform. Just, you know, interacting with AT&T, there's so many smart people here, and they're just going to hopefully, you know, continue to give us great ideas and great resources to build things that we haven't thought of before.
If there's any one message from it, I'd say it's that. You can do amazing things.
That gives you a quick overview. I recently visited the Palo Alto facility, and one of the things that our team there did is they set a day aside for people who were working on robots. Okay, so if you were working in robotics and wanted to connect your robot to the internet through our network, that's all we were there for that day. So I walked in, I didn't realize that, but there's these little robots running all over the place, you know. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. You know, arms, and, you know, it was just... that would have happened very, very rarely without us having the Foundry and the capability for those people to test how those robots would work when they were being remotely controlled from many, many miles away. So let me now talk about new products to explain, okay, so all this research and all this innovation, what are you doing with these products? I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're doing. And I'll reiterate, I think you're going to see just the tip of some of the products that we're rolling out. Obviously, I can't tell you all the ones that we're working on because some of those are proprietary still. But these are close enough coming to market that I think will give you a view of how we're planning to change, actually, the way you live and work. And let me begin with highlighting the 4 that I'm going to talk about. In terms of the home, we're working with a product set called Digital Life that I want to talk about. In mobile payments, I'm going to talk about how we're changing the way people actually pay for goods in a way that may dramatically change the way your children pay for goods. Maybe not you. Maybe we're beyond some of that. But I think for the next generation, all they're going to know is digital cash. You'll wait and see. But that's coming. A very exciting area in transportation, that connected car. We're doing some things that will dramatically change the way you drive a car in the future, the way that a car feels to you and your family in the future. And then some emerging technologies that are a little bit further out, but also will make your life better. So let me begin by talking about Digital Life. What is Digital Life? Digital Life is the first ever all IP, all digital home automation and security service. Today, if you have an alarm in your house, chances are that you have a central panel that is analog, and you have wires running to your doors and your windows that when a contact is stripped, the signal runs through a set of wires to the central panel and then calls the alarm company. How yesterday is that? Wired? How about wireless? So this product is all wireless. All the wires that are in the houses today are gone. You no longer need them. All the contacts for the doors, for fire, for water, everything works inside your house wirelessly and then connects wirelessly to our wireless network. So it's a national service. You'll be able to get it anywhere that you have our coverage. And it automatically takes your home and makes it so that you can do whatever you want to with it, with programs that let you customize the home security and monitoring process in your home. I want to show you a couple of cases so you get a sense for how different this is. First of all, it's all controlled from a smartphone or a tablet. Okay, everything we have, you'll be able to set how you want the rooms to function, how your doors, when an alarm is received, when somebody opens your door, what do you want to happen when somebody opens the door or rings your bell? You'll be able to do that through the digital connectivity that we're putting together here. And everything is tied to a smartphone. So let me give you the first case of what could happen when you're driving. When you're driving, you typically have your smartphone with you. It has GPS on it typically. And so we know exactly how far you are away from home. All you need to do is tell us when I'm within 10 miles of the home, turn on my AC, lower the thermostat here and there, open the garage door when I'm, a tenth of a mile away. You don't have to tell it anything other than just drive in, and it will do it automatically for you. Because we have the smarts in the house, and we have the smarts in your phone. So geocoding things and setting programs to make your life easier is a breeze, and you can do it all with a user interface that's probably the best that we've been able to come up with. I haven't seen anybody done anything close to that. That is huge. So another case, let's say that you're away from home and one of the kids is locked out of the house. Guess what? You have a camera in your front door, so you can see your child is at the front door. You can open the door, and when they go in, you can actually lock it remotely. Pretty cool. Here's something that somebody told me in New York last week. They had a pattern of burglaries in their neighborhood. And the way the burglar was breaking in is the burglar was ringing the doorbell, and if nobody answered, it meant nobody was home, then he would break into that house. And he said, could you figure out a way to let me know when the doorbell rings? Gosh, that's easy. What do you want, a text message? You want an email message? You want an MMS? And so you can set up, the minute the doorbell is rung, you can get a message with a picture of who's at your front door. And it says, that's just what you want, but I can actually do better than that. I can put a motion sensor. So even before the person rings the doorbell, you will know who or she is, and you can actually answer it, saying, hello, what do you want? And so that's all possible by just going into your technology, your user interface, and actually changing that so that I think the home security and monitoring business that you're going to have in the future will be dramatically different. Same thing when you have water intrusion in the house. 70% of the insurance claims today are from water damage. And typically it's water damage from inside the house. I just had My neighbor 2 doors down, he spent hundreds of thousands because he had a water line burst on the 2nd floor of his house, and it flooded the whole house. We have the capability that the minute there's water intrusion detected, if you want, it'll shut off all the water in the house, or it'll shut off the water to the water heater, or it'll shut off the 2nd floor. Immediately, and you will get notice of what's going on. So those are just a few of the ways that we're changing the way people are going to actually look at the way that home security is provided. Mobile payments. You know, I tell folks that when we tell our grandchildren that we used to pay for goods by carrying pieces of metals in our pockets that jingle, coins, they're going to say, you did what? You were paying with pieces of metal when we have everything you want on the smartphone? We're going to make that happen. Let me show you how we're going to make that happen. First of all, mobile payments is a huge, huge industry. This actually shows that, according to Juniper Research, 2.5 million smartphone users worldwide will make mobile payments in 2015. That's a lot of people. In the U.S., we're going to have more than 40 million smartphones enabled with near-field communications next year. By the end of 2013, over 40 million people will have smartphones that will be capable of making mobile payments. So how do we plan to change that? We have a joint venture with Verizon and T-Mobile called ISIS. And we've agreed to put near-field communications in our phones. And we're using the same technology so that a merchant doesn't have to have a Verizon terminal, an AT&T terminal, and a T-Mobile terminal, because that's not going to happen. We can make one terminal work through all of our carriers, and there'll be others that will join as well. But the whole idea is to make payments as easy as possible. And I've showed some of the companies that we're actually working with. You can actually put whatever credit card you have on your phone. And so you can have all the credit cards on that phone. You can make any kind of payments you want with that phone. And to make it even better, our own Coca-Cola company here is changing Coke machines to actually take payments with your smartphone. In fact, our trial for this mobile payments business is in Austin, Texas, and Salt Lake City. And in Austin, Texas, Coke has changed over 200 Coke machines, totally redundant with video displays for the sole purpose of you can buy a Coke with your smartphone. And by the way, when you buy 10, you get the 10th one free. I'm so glad they didn't put that on beer, because I think that would go really big in some of these college campuses. But I'm telling you that the way people shop, the way they pay for their goods will dramatically change when it's so easy. Today, when I use my phone and I go pay for something, it's just like a wow factor. You just did what? You didn't take out a credit card, you didn't take out any cash, you just tap your phone. And that's the way I think the wave of the future will be. Like I said at the beginning, if you lose your phone, you'll find out in less than 15 minutes. If you lose your credit card, it could be hours, it could be days. So from a fraud point of view, the credit card companies like this approach because they know who you are. And they know if you lose that phone, they immediately will find out. So you can do everything you can do with a credit card, except this is a real dynamic credit card that sits on a phone that if the banks want to talk to their customers, they can talk to their customers. They can talk to you if you let them to tell you account balances, to report to you anything you want to do with a bank. You can do it with a mobile phone. I think it dramatically changes. And we've worked really hard to make this that simple. Because a credit card works pretty well today, right? You take it out and you swipe it. So to do this, you have to really do it simple. We're going to do that. Now let me talk about the connected car, because I think this may be one of the biggest breakthroughs that you're going to see in the near future. Cars up until now have had connectivity. They've had wireless connectivity, but it's been to what I call the front seat of the car for safety and security purposes. You know, when the airbag blows up, you know, they'll have somebody call you, or there may be some diagnostics. What I'm talking about and what I'm going to show you here is what's going to happen to the rear seat of the car. Okay? There's going to be an infotainment capability in the back seat of the car that changes dramatically how people will think about their cars and what their cars can do. And we actually began this with bicycles and then worked our way to cars. Actually, we've connected bicycles. This is a social bicycle, SOBI, where you can take your social bicycle You can put in a code that's downloaded to your smartphone, and you can drop off the bike anywhere you want to and pick it up as long as you're a member of the Social Bike Club. We also have a deal with Zipcar. We actually connect Zipcars today. That's our technology that allows them to do the same thing with cars. And now we're moving into what I think is the connected car of the future. I couldn't possibly tell you, so I'm going to show you a video because Bud said, you know, Ralph, show him a little bit about the future. Rather than me tell you about it, we developed a short film so you can see where the future of the car is going. And then I'd like to tell me whether you think we're going in the right direction or not.
People have always trusted AT&T to connect them to what's most important. Now we're working on new innovations to simplify and enhance your life. We're enabling devices to talk to one another wirelessly, allowing you to control the lights and thermostat of your home with your smartphone, start your vehicle remotely, or even use biometric readings to unlock your vehicle.
Good morning. Okay, shutting off all lights, locking doors and windows, and turning security system on. Looks like you have everything you need for the day.
Imagine a world where your vehicle serves as both your assistant and guardian. Enabled by the most cutting-edge technology, it's a vehicle that's fully aware of its surroundings. It feels like an extension of yourself, connecting you seamlessly to your own personal cloud.
Play today's podcast from the New York Times.
Your voice frees you from distractions and keeps your eyes and mind on the road. The AT&T Connected Vehicle provides a ride of unprecedented safety because the vehicle is part of a larger intelligent network. Vehicles, the road, and traffic infrastructure talk to each other wirelessly, exchanging a constant flow of data, helping to avoid accidents and improve traffic flow. The vehicle guides you to your destination using a smart steering wheel and ensures that you're in the best of health with a new kind of seatbelt. You can use the time spent maintaining your car on other things.
Your front driver's side turn signal bulb just went out. Your preferred dealer has a new bulb in stock and can replace it tomorrow at 9 a.m. Should I book it?
Yes, please.
Because your car looks after itself. You may find that you're getting more work done when it's most convenient.
Email Nancy the September store opening document and include a message saying, "Looking forward to walking you through this soon."
And when real-time traffic monitoring shows you'll be running late,
Bad news. There's a sudden traffic jam 2 miles ahead. The good news is that I found a way around it, but it will still make you 15 minutes late for your meeting with Nancy. Should I let her know?
Yes, let her know I'll take the call from here. Find me a place to pull over.
you can always take the meeting from your car.
Heads up, there's a message from your wife. Honey, can you pick up the kids?
Sure thing.
The connected vehicle brings you and your family closer together and gives incredible access to Uverse and leading infotainment services. You can have instant access to all your favorite games and television shows, even the ones you recorded at home, right at your fingertips. Or give your kids the ability to finish their homework before they even reach home. The connected vehicle uses your location to bring you new opportunities.
I'm sure you're aware it's your wedding anniversary today. How about some flowers? 2 blocks ahead, Lori's Flowers has a flower bouquet special for $44.99.
While using its knowledge of other places to make those opportunities come a little easier.
Yeah, that's great. Find me a parking spot.
There's an open spot just 52 feet from the store. It also has a charging station since we're running low on energy.
And when it's dinner time...
Hi guys. Sorry I'm running late tonight.
No worries. Why don't we just celebrate our anniversary with some pizza then?
The connected vehicle is happy to take your order.
Place an order to Benedito's for 2 large pizzas, 1 with pepperoni and 1 with everything.
Your food will be there about 10 minutes after you arrive.
The connected vehicle only scratches the surface of what can be done in the emerging world of connected experiences. Together with strong partners from around the world, we're bringing the best talent, resources, and technology to enable a larger ecosystem that will fundamentally improve the way we experience everyday life.
What do you think?
Very cool.
The only thing I'd have a hard time understanding is my wife saying a pizza's okay for an anniversary. That'd be tough. Let me jump to the last area because I want to get to Q's and A's here, and I'm running a little bit late. But there's some. This is what I've touched on are just the surface of things that are about to come out. We're working on a whole bunch of things that have yet to come out, and this area of emerging technologies with things that can be connected to the internet that traditionally have not been connected to the internet. It's just full of opportunities, only limited by our imagination. So what are we seeing happening here? Wearables that have internet connectivity. And you may say, well, who wants to wear anything that's connected to the internet? Think of some baby clothes that can actually monitor babies to make sure that in those critical first few days or first few weeks, they're okay, that anytime any of their vitals change, the mom or the dad get an alert on their smartphone. I don't know about you, but I think there's a lot of parents who will be willing to spend a little extra to make sure that the baby stuff is connected. We also have shoes that actually prevent a loss of balance and help elderly folks if they fall and they're immobile. So we can actually track the movement of shoes and know your movements and understand if something is out of order in those movements that can be reported to a loved one or to a physician so actions can be taken. This is part of what we call our Aging in Place, Aging at Home initiative to try to keep people in their homes a little bit longer. And so it's just full of opportunity. Finally, I wanted to tell you that all these things that we're doing is actually changing the way we interface with customers. And so I wanted to show you a short picture and video of the latest store that we have opened up on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. And if you go into the store, you're going to see the things that I showed you up until now in the store. It's the only wireless store that I know that has a kitchen in the store, that has a living room, and a car inside the store. And it's probably the only wireless store that when you go in doesn't have a sign whether it's 3G or 4G. There are no G's other than just G. That's why we want G, what a great place this is. So let me show you the video, and I hope you get the excitement of our people and what we're doing with this technology.
Hi, and welcome to AT&T's flagship store located in Chicago on Michigan Avenue. This store is really about bringing our AT&T brand to life for our customers and inviting them to come in, explore, and see how our technology can help improve their lives. Right now we're in our apps lounge and over by one of our app surface tables. And this area is really to showcase customers all of our different applications. I think applications can be a little bit intimidating for customers. If you look at any marketplace, there's hundreds or thousands of apps. And we really wanted to show you what are the ones that you want to use, what's easy and fun, and that's what this area is all about. In our Street Smart section, you can learn more about how AT&T is helping make driving easier and safer. Today we're showcasing AT&T's Drive Mode, which will enable customers to turn off their text messages while they're driving, to decrease any distractions and help keep them safer. This goes hand in hand with our It Can Wait campaign. We're also showcasing a little bit of the future with our AT&T Foundry products that customers will be able to preview here, and it will show them how in the future AT&T will be able to bring their family even more peace of mind while driving.
Well, this is our gallery, so this is really kind of a boutique feel back in this area. We wanted to showcase local Chicago artists.
It's called Chicagoland because we really want to immerse the customers in the overall experience of Chicago. And we have the power bag. So when you open the power bag up, it enables the customers to charge up to 4 devices at once, and they can always stay charged on the go. We have a huge biker community here in Chicago, so we want to make sure that they're also able to utilize the products and services we have. So we have the mounting for the bicycle, and it allows the customer to put their device here.
Here in our Digital Life section, we're really showcasing all the advances that AT&T has made in digital life, and the ability to monitor your home from afar, adjust your thermostat, lock and unlock your doors, and all the peace of mind that our customers will have. Our AT&T flagship store is really about showcasing all that our customers can do with our technology and how everything working together can help improve their lives. Rather than focusing on a specific device or application, we're highlighting how it all works together and fits into our customers' lives. So if you're in the Chicago area, I really hope to see you soon.
There you have it. You've got it from research to innovation to products to actually showing the products in a store setting where we actually try to fit the product to your lifestyle. So instead of going to the smartphone section, we'll ask you, do you want to go to our Get Fit section or to our productivity section that helps you to be more productive at work or get better fit. It's amazing. So in summary, I think we've come a long way in trying to connect people with technology. That's how we started the session. I think we've got a long way to go, but I hope you feel like we're making some good progress in taking the research findings, using an innovative process to turn them into products and services that people want. So let me stop there and see what questions you may have about anything that I've said or anything that may be on your mind.
If people that have questions can come up to the microphones in the 2 aisles. Go ahead, Renee.
Good evening. Thank you very much for that talk. My name is Renu Kulkarni, and the question I have is kind of the underlying assumption for all of this to be possible, everything that you've described, is that there's a parallel innovation happening in the network, the fundamental network distribution that AT&T has. So my question is, what are the challenges and hence opportunities in a partnership that you see AT&T having to grapple with to ensure that all of this is possible from a network standpoint?
You know, first of all, the thing that it requires is a huge investment. The network to cover this country requires a huge amount of capital, and we just announced last week that we're going to invest an additional $8 billion to take our 4G LTE footprint to 300 million people in the U.S. So essentially, everybody will have access to the world's best wireless network infrastructure. And so it begins with that. But what we do a lot, that David does a lot, is we work with the ecosystem. Having the network is great, but having people that know how to tap it, how to use application programming interfaces to get information from our network and from our capabilities so they can make their applications easier and better to use is something that we're spending an awful lot of time on. Trying to make it easier for developers to get access to our network, to get access to UVerse, to get access to digital life, and to get access to the connected car. Now that we have tasted what it's like to develop cool applications, and that's what these customers are reacting to when they talk about, you know, they love this technology, in the end is, are you doing something for me that makes me more productive, makes me more in touch with my loved ones? So we have really taken almost, it's a religion to, we got to make sure that the developer community is with us as we go on this journey. And so it's the ecosystem, but of course the network requires a huge investment. Yes.
Good evening, Ralph. My name is John Bartkus. I'm with Site Minis. And I want to agree with your comments before about Israel. I used to work for Amdocs and had the pleasure of going there many times. So it's a phenomenal country with great people. But also Atlanta has a lot of great people, a lot of great companies. Why not Atlanta for one of your founding locations?
We're working on that. I'm not ready to make an announcement, but let's see. We're looking for sites, aren't we, David? We're looking at sites. Let's leave it at that. I'd love to have one here. Yes.
Thank you for that. That was a great presentation. My name is Danielle Ion. I work here at GTRI and run a program called GIS at GTRI. So a lot of what you're talking about, if not all of what you're talking about, has a spatial component to it, the data. I have a couple of questions. One is your applications are beautiful, but they rely not only on a network as infrastructure, but data as infrastructure. So is AT&T going to be in the data acquisition business, or where are you getting data to run these applications is the first question. And then second part of that question is, does AT&T, what is the emphasis or importance from AT&T's point of view on spatial data versus just data?
Okay, let me address the first one. Everybody's into big data now, right? So anytime you say data, everybody immediately jumps to big data. And we're looking at using our own data, supplementing it with other data to make some of these things come to life. But at AT&T, we're very concerned about privacy. So one of the things that we always do is to make sure at this point that everything is on an opt-in basis as opposed to opt-out. If you understand the difference, it's a very big difference. And so we're willing to do all of these things with data, but only to the extent that you want us to. And of course, some customers in our research, by the way, especially young people, are willing to let you have some of their data, not all of their data, but some of their data in exchange for something of value. It could be a reduced plan, it could be a reduced charge, it could be free minutes or free data. And so we have found that there's a lot of people that are willing to give you some data not the social security number, not medical data, but if you want to know where you're at, some people may want to direct an ad to you. I think that is something that I think is going to continue to gain more prominence in terms of not just having data, but data that is actually meaningful, so that an advertiser or somebody who's interested can give you an offer that is more meaningful than something that somebody just throws at you with a spam email message. And I think that's where the future is having data that you're willing to opt into that actually has value to you, so when you get an offer or you get some solicitation, it makes sense. And that's kind of AT&T's view on the big data concept. Okay.
So, hi. Thank you so much for a wonderful and exciting presentation today. My name is Annie Antong. I'm from the School of Interactive Computing. And I was very happy to hear you speak about privacy, because one of the things that I was thinking about is there's this very famous ACLU video that was on the internet probably about 10 years ago, where someone dials in for pizza and the other person on the other end says, oh, well, I see that you've gained a lot of weight in the last few weeks, and are you sure you want to get the pizza? And then he says, well, maybe I shouldn't. And then he says, well, maybe I'll get something else. And he says, well, it looks like you should get a sub sandwich. And, given that your wife has a subscription to this other magazine, then maybe you will get this coupon if you rip it out of her. And then the person knows all this information about the person who just called to get a pizza, and they get really wigged out about it. And so it's very interesting, because now we have this whole generation that's grown up with freely sharing information, for instance, on Facebook. And they have no real boundaries or understanding until they get to that creepy factor. And so that line of what becomes creepy has really moved so far beyond what it used to be 10 years ago, which is really exciting, because it opens up the opportunity to keep the family connected, but also finding that balance of privacy and security and how we interact with the government, for instance, and keeping things private and secure, and opting in is really a challenge. And so I'd be very interested in hearing more about that.
Yeah, we have been extremely conservative, maybe to a fault, of saying we don't want to give away our customers' data, when there's other companies in the same industry that are doing so in a very, very big fashion. And we think eventually that may come back to haunt them down the road, so we've erred on the side of being conservative. And if we do anything like that, we get the customer's permission, or it's anonymized so that you don't have any personal information. It may be group data about a group of people who are watching a TV show. One of the most interesting things that we're doing just in modeling is who watches a TV show and watches another show. For an advertiser to know that if you watch this show A, you're also likely to watch show B, but nothing individually is shared with that information. It's just the number of people that watch this show also watch that show. So you may be able to, instead of advertising on the expensive show, you may want to advertise on the less expensive show and still get the audience you want. It's that kind of thing that is helpful. But we're very, very concerned. And everything we do, we always are on the side of the customer and making sure that the customer is giving us approval before we use any of their data.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's a question back there. Yeah. If you say it, I'll repeat it if you want, or she can get you a mic. Can you take the mic up there?
Wait, whoa.
We're streaming this, is where we're being...
Yeah, there's a large audience.
So 2 quick questions. One is about the payments. Is it using credit cards of existing banks and institutions on the phone, and not necessarily creating a new payment system that is kind of independent? I mean, there's been talks in the past few months about, for example, Apple turning their iTunes store into sort of kind of a bank or something for processing that kind of payment. So that is the first question. And what is the actually revenue model there? So it's going to cost more or less for the consumer to transact payments like that, and where is your chunk? The second question is very exciting stuff, what you showed about the apps and the application scenarios, including the store. I've seen a little bit of resemblance in like an Apple Store kind of experience, in the sense of, events and excitement. Do you think that kind of strategy is going to clash at some point with what Google or Apple are trying to do? Because it seems like everybody wants to own the customer. I mean, either from a device standpoint or from a network standpoint. Because it seems like if you're starting getting into apps and stuff like that, either you go and publish on the marketplace, Google Marketplace or Apple Store, or if you have your own marketplace, then you're going to compete all of a sudden with Amazon and Google and Apple. So is it something you're heading to, or is kind of still involuntary overlaps of everybody doing everything?
No, if you look at what we're doing, what I just demonstrated, we're actually selling products from Apple and products from Google to help you get to the lifestyle you want. So what we're selling is solutions. Some of those solutions come from Apple. Some come from Motorola Solutions, which is owned by Google. Some of them are by somebody else. So what we're revolutionized is that in that store is we don't ask you what product you want. We try to sell you a solution for what you're looking for, depending on your needs and your desires. And that's dramatically different than taking you to a lineup is, here's the smartphones, which one do you want? Here's the tablet, which one do you want? We first take the time to find out what you need, because buying the tablet or the smartphone is one thing. You want the application that helps you to do what you want to do. And then back to your mobile payments question, we run an open ecosystem. So any card that you want to bring into the wallet, assuming the bank is agreeable to doing that, we're hosting it in the wallet. So we have deals with Visa, with MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. And we're open to putting other wallets, other cards in the wallet. So for you to sign up with ISIS, it should be as painless as possible. You don't have to get any new cards if you don't want to. And you can use all your existing cards. But now they're all digitized in your smartphone as opposed to physically in a wallet, and they're much more active. The benefit of doing a transaction with ISIS is that the merchant always knows it's a credit card present transaction, right? Those transactions get the lowest inter-exchange rates. And so by having a smartphone as opposed to doing it, say, over the web, where you don't know who that person is, they could be somebody that is phishing or doing all kinds of things with IDs. You know there's a person that has a smartphone that is sitting somewhere with that being credential being verified by the bank. So I think that banks like the security aspects of it and are willing to process the transaction as a credit card present transaction, which is the lowest inter-exchange rates that they get. Yes.
Hi. My name is Jim Mueller. I'm with the Rehabilitation Engineering Research Center on Wireless Technologies. It's a collaborative project with Georgia Tech and the Shepherd Center here in town. I know I don't have to tell you that AT&T has been a great supporter of our programs, and we really appreciate that. You mentioned a term, digital kinship, and I'd like to talk a little bit about your customers with disabilities, the elders that are your customers, and you talked a little bit about some of the technologies that really have tremendous potential benefits for these customers and people without disabilities as well. I'm thinking in terms of how do you reach out to those people who don't yet know that these are solutions that really can improve their lives. My parents, for example, who could benefit from these things, but they're scared to death of the technology. Your technology is growing faster than they can keep up with it. What do you think are the challenges in communicating with these potential customers? This could really help you, and here's how. One of the answers is, of course, the collaboration of AT&T with Oasis Institute, where you invite elders to come in, talk to your managers, say, here's why I can't text on my phone, and your managers help them. Are there other initiatives that you think AT&T Mobility could do?
Yes, in fact, believe it or not, 2 years ago, before this product was launched, one of the first things I did when I was in Washington, D.C., I met with all the organizations that represent people with disabilities of all kinds. So there must have been 15 people in the room. And my ask of them is come to Atlanta, come see the house before we actually equip it, so you can tell me how we need to change digital life so it helps people with disabilities. And so we actually did some of the things in here with getting some early input from people who represent disabled individuals. And they were absolutely thrilled. And they've been we need their input. And we've gotten their input, and there's still a lot more. If you have anything that you'd like to give us, I would encourage you to maybe in early January or in the first quarter, when we actually open it up to the public, to take a tour through the house. But know that people with disabilities and people who represent them have already given us tremendous input because we know that's a big, big deal with digital guardianship and wanting to make sure you know what's happening to your mother or your father or your grandmother or your grandfather if they're still residing in their own home and want to be in contact with you. I think that's going to be a huge draw. Yes, sir.
Yes. What role do you see the networks playing in healthcare? We have developed a healthcare application, and part of the process that we have to go through now is in different locations we have to go in and negotiate with carriers for services into the public's home. What, do you see a collaboration between the network carriers that will enhance our ability to provide services in a rapid manner? And the second part of that question is, in rural America, we have one project that's a hospital with 32 clinics scattered around the state of Arkansas. Many of those neighborhoods have no wireless services. How do you see the major carriers extending their services out into those areas where, if you look at it from a strictly financial standpoint, you may say, well, does it really make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But from a humanitarian standpoint and from a healthcare standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. So could you speak to that?
Yeah, of course. So to the first one, we're absolutely, totally engaged, and I didn't have enough time to talk about it. I picked 4, but I could talk on another 4, one of which is we call mHealth or wireless health. And we have a complete division that is dedicated to health. In fact, we just hired our own doctor that works for AT&T to help drive us and the medical community closer together with the things that we're doing in healthcare. I could show you 2 or 3 other videos of doctors that we've already partnered with, but I didn't have enough time. And the response from the doctor that I've met that has our services to remotely diagnose patients would sit there and tell you that it is absolutely saving lives today. And we know it can be a lot more effective. We have committed, as I mentioned earlier, to take the state-of-the-art technology that we have to 300 million Americans. There may be a few million that may be left, but it's in single digits, low single digits. And for those, the Federal Communications Commission has a plan to extend broadband to those hard-to-reach areas in working with the carriers and others. So I'm very certain that we'll get for sure to the 300 million, and the next 2 or 3 will be able to be reached through a consortium of some kind. But it is huge. It is huge. Yes, sir.
I'm Chirian Tachingari from Georgia State University. I'm on the faculty there. You talked about the connected car, the connected home, connected work. Beth talked about the significance of today as a holiday. As you know, last week was a very significant week. We had the elections. Could you talk a little bit about the connected government? I think in Florida they are still counting votes. Is it possible for us to combine the technologies of your mobile payment systems and the biometrics of the connected car to bring about one day we can have voting using a mobile application so that we have full participation of the electorate? And a second part is actually your reaction to something you said earlier. You said we are the generation, perhaps the last of it, to carry jingling coins in our pockets. About 100 years from now, when archaeologists were to go doing an archaeological dig of our generations yet to come, what sort of artifacts do you think would they discover? No broken pieces of pottery, no pieces of papyrus, no coins, just a bunch of Apple smartphones and iPads.
What I'm afraid on that last one is somebody's going to discover my briefcase, 100 years from now and go, why is this guy carrying 5 smartphones and 2 tablets in his briefcase? But I test all of my customers' products beforehand, so I do carry a lot of devices with me. But I think once you convince yourself, and I am convinced, that you can do mobile payments, you can transact a financial transaction on your mobile payments, and it is safer and less susceptible to fraud than if you do it in any other way, you have to ask the next logical question: why can't we vote the same way? I think that's a cultural thing. I am very certain we could devise a system if people had faith that you could get it done. And I think in the future, I'm very sure it will happen, but I think it's going to take its time. because of all the concerns that people have about fraud. But I'm very certain once you get people comfortable with payments, then the next question will be, of course, you can do many other things. Just like we got used to paying for things over the internet, I think we'll get used to paying with things with a smartphone and eventually voting and doing other things with smartphones. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's Todd Wood. I'm with Mandarin Oriental, and one of the things that we struggle with as we look at opportunities to use the network is the ability to have data plans that are a much smaller amount of content. We have, $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever it is, for devices that a housekeeper might have or anybody might have that, to connect to the network, when really they're just sending some, some text back and forth. And do you have plans to, it really, I think, would help from innovation from a healthcare standpoint, monitoring, to really support devices that would have a plan that is a lot less expensive because it's very little data being sent?
Yeah, so we're doing two things. If you're a business customer and you have a new product that you want to bring to market, we'll work with you to develop your own plan. We actually have a division here in Atlanta. It's called Emerging Devices. I set it up by Glenn Lurie, and Glenn doesn't have any standard prices. Everything is kind of custom designed for you as a business bringing us your product. I'll give you an example, something that may seem so obvious, but a picture frame. Okay, you have picture frames that can download pictures digitally to the frame. It's very popular when you give it to a grandparent that can get an updated picture of their grandkids every so often. But who wants to look at that frame and know you're paying $9.99 or $10 or $15 a month? So we designed a plan that you just pay a small amount per picture. You send a picture, you get a charge. If you don't send a picture, you don't get a charge. We actually have devices now that have a GPS capability so you can track your dog. You don't want to put a collar on your dog and then think I'm paying $9. So we have plans that do that for businesses. The latest thing that we did is we came up with a data plan called Mobile Share, where you can buy a bucket of data, and it serves your smartphones, your tablets, and all your other devices, because we think there's going to be people wanting to connect a bunch of things, and they don't want to pay a monthly data charge for, especially a big one, for connecting those devices. So in the first 5 weeks that we came out with those plans, we signed over 2 million customers. And so it says when customers looked at the plans, they found value, and they connected a whole bunch more devices that were not connected before.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you, Mr. De La Vega. Really, really loved your talk. Many of us here have been on Twitter and other, we're very active in this digital world. One of the comments that was circulating around in Twitter during your talk was, as we go more and more to this this wireless world, and we have examples like Sandy coming in and destroying both our ability to power these devices and challenges with the network. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing at AT&T to help resolve both the network issues during disaster and the power issues during disasters?
Sure. Well, just came back from New York, and obviously Superstorm Sandy was an incredible disaster in New York and New Jersey and that whole area. So after we have a major storm like that, we always go back and look and think, what do we need to do differently? And I think there's several learnings here for us, for the power grid, and for the community. So I think it takes a collective effort. The good thing is within a few days, over 90% of our cell sites came back, and we rolled out thousands of generators to the region to get the power restored to our cell sites that were without power because the power grid failed. So we have to do our job in planning the cell sites with enough backup capability, whether it's a generator we roll to it or it comes equipped with a generator. And then the local utility has to have a plan of itself, because without power, those phones, even if our cell sites are working, what we found out in New York is their phones were discharged. Most places that I've ever experienced a hurricane, and I probably have experienced more than your average person, what happens when the lights go out and you want to charge your phone, you go out to your car, you plug in your car charger, and your phone works. There's a lot of people in New York that don't have cars, that use the subway. And so there was no way to get them to charge their phone. Millions of people. And so that's something we're going to have to think through, and how to get a backup plan for people to be able to charge their phones, because even if our cell sites are working, if their power's down and they run out of batteries, the logistics of charging millions of phones at the same time is something we're going to have to deal with. And then the last thing is that the communities themselves. This is a once in a 100-year history, but there's got to be better planning on the part of the communities, especially for areas that are flood prone. So a lot of the damage there was not wind like we've seen in other major hurricanes, but the flood damage was substantial. And I think we need to figure out how to better deal with that situation. So I think it's a complete ecosystem of us, the power companies, and the local communities to reassess and learn from that terrible disaster. Yes.
Last question.
Hi, Jay Sexton, Georgia Tech. The videos you showed us and the talks you've given show the obvious advantages and ways that these technologies can improve lives. But yet you still have people who are hesitant to adopt them, whether it be the creepiness factor mentioned earlier, or cost, or fear of complexity. What do you see as the biggest obstacles in getting these adopted by the population, and how do you see the best ways to overcome those?
I think that the biggest thing that I see is just getting people to try them. And, we led the smartphone revolution with Apple, trying to get people to sample what it's like to have all these wonderful applications on your phone that then you think you can't live without. This is dramatically changing the world. Now, we live in the greatest country in the world, the U.S. The U.S. is now the epicenter for smartphones in the world. Everything new, everything exciting, everything that's innovative almost always begins here, because we have Apple, we have Google, we have Facebook, all the things that are driving this. But if you look around the world, more people today have mobile phones than have electricity. More people have mobile phones than have running water. And I could go on and on. I can't think of anything that people have more of around the globe than mobile phones. And they're making mobile payments. Even in places that are not as developed as the U.S., they're making their payments, they're using their phones to make their life and their businesses better. Once you get hooked on it, there's no going back. And that's what you love about the new generation. The new generation of kids are getting raised on this technology, and they love it. I'll end with a story about my niece and my nephew who came over for the holidays, and I'll admit that I spoiled them. I bought them iPads, but I think they're key to their education. And hopefully one of these days that young lady's going to be here in Georgia Tech, because she's really, really good. And so I give them the iPads. Immediately they start going like this. You don't have to explain anything. They're playing Angry Birds within minutes. So then I see the young boy the next morning, and he's sitting in front of my microwave oven, and he's doing this to the microwave oven. Well, the microwave oven is not doing a darn thing. And he's going like, what is wrong with this thing? You go, oh man, do we have a problem here? But when he grows up, that microwave oven will have this. You can rest assured. So they think anything that has a black screen should have a touch screen, and that's what they expect. Once they get hooked on that, who wants to go to the old microwave? You won't get them there. So thank you for having me here. Thank you for giving me the time, and thank you, Georgia Tech, for hosting a great forum here, Beth. Thank you.
Can you keep me here for a second? So I did lie. I want one more question. Tell us what your wish list is for Georgia Tech. What is it that you want us to be doing to help make this vision come true?
I would like to have us have an even closer cooperation with Georgia Tech. I've told Bud, and I don't mind telling you, that my vision is to have a foundry here at Georgia Tech, somewhere close to the Georgia Tech campus, where we can take all the great things that are going on in the classroom and in the surrounding community with the great entrepreneurs that Georgia Tech is germinating, and figuring out how we can bring some of these things to life, not in Palo Alto, not in Israel, but right here in Atlanta. And I hope that we can make that vision a reality in the not too distant future. Thank you.
This is tremendous. Thank you very much. Thank you. What a tremendous opportunity to have both this presentation and this conversation with Ralph de la Vega. I get to close with a few remarks. First is that many of you already have an invitation already tucked onto the back of your name tag, but if you don't, find a friend who does, because we have a small reception available where you get to see our beginnings of an innovation foundry and what we would like the future to be here at Georgia Tech and in our research community. This reception is sponsored by another one of our key partners, Qualcomm. And so we are looking forward to interacting with you. Wait out the rain, wait out the traffic, and come spend some time with us. So feel free to follow any of the Georgia Techers across the street, and we'll be glad to share some time in that with you this evening. And then finally, we expect to see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. We have a full day planned for you as we continue to discuss many of the visions that Ralph shared with us and the research being done here, not on campus, but with our partners. So we will start things off with our Executive Vice President for Research, Steve Cross. We'll have some remarks to share with us. I will spend some time talking to you about our vision for convergence and what that looks like in our notion of what it means when this world, this connected world, is coming together. We will have 3 tremendous panels, a panel on mobile devices and beyond. So now that we are all hooked onto these particular devices, what's next? What is that world going to look like? And that panel will be chaired by Thad Sterner, the technical lead of Glass, and we will have folks from Panasonic, from Georgia Tech, from Qualcomm, and AT&T. I think it's going to be a vigorous discussion, and as well as our colleagues from the other side of the globe from Australia. Thanks, Bruce. We will then have a panel on this notion of what does it mean with big data, big or small, in the world of social media. Our digital footprints, what we are leaving social media, what we just discussed in the Twitter stream, very interesting around today's conversations. What does that mean when that data is available, both to personalize, to provide opportunities, and perhaps add a little bit to that creepiness factor? So what do our digital footprints and fingerprints look like now, and what is that going to mean for us? As always, despite how wonderful our presentations and conversations are, the best part of the day is the candy store, the tremendous research demonstrations that will be available to our community. We will leave this room and go over to the other side of Tech Square. We'll have about 2.5 hours and three or more floors of demonstrations for you to experience. To connect to that innovation foundry, that innovation powerhouse as our students and faculty and our partners working together. We'll serve lunch during that time, so you'll have fuel for your stomach and for your brain. And then you'll be able to come back in the afternoon to have a panel where we will broaden the conversation further, and we'll actually talk about some of these issues, whether it was Superstorm Sandy, or the different ways that people are looking at devices, not just to entertain, but to connect and to take care of each other within the community. And then we will close with probably the best way that we can always close any Georgia Tech event, which is a focus on our students. So there's been a number of students that have been working all semester on a new project called GT Journey. What does it mean for them to have access to new forms of data, new forms of connectivity, and new forms of devices, and what do they want to create for their Georgia Tech experience and beyond? So we will give you a sense for the kinds of work that they've been doing, and then the grand finale for them and for you is to find out the winners of that particular competition. So it'll be an exciting way to close out our day. So thank you very much for being here this evening. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And again, thank you very much to Ralph de la Vega and our discussions.